All right, guys, welcome back into another episode of To the Show We Go Baseball Podcast. Today's episode is we have another Red Sox pitching prospect. We've been very heavy on the pitching side. We have Jonathan Brand on. Now, Brand was actually spent a little bit of time in Greenville this year, got bumped up to Portland and finished out the year up there. But Jonathan, I always like to kind of throw a little layup, I guess, as the first question here. Obviously, you're back home. You've into your off season. I know it's goes by pretty quick, but how are things going, and how's your off season been so far?
It's been good. It's nice to be back home. It's nice to be back down in Georgia. I enjoyed my time up in Maine, but I'm definitely a Georgia boy through and through. But no, it's going good. Things are starting to pick up on the training side here pretty recently, and so, but no, it's going good.
Let's. I do want to talk about that. Let's talk about the Maine experience you had. Was that the first time you had been?
Oh yeah, definitely the first time I've been up there.
Okay, so I need initial thoughts. Like everything from obviously you being from Georgia, it's a lot different. Different foods, different just way of life. What were your takeaways from it?
I loved it. It was a really cool atmosphere up there. Just definitely like a different scenery. I mean, I remember it was like towards the end of the year at one point, and it was like a night game or whatever, and I was having to wear a sweatshirt in like August, and that's just something that I had never done and had to do in my life before. But no, it was really cool. The food up there is great. The town really supports the team, and it's a pretty cool little town. There's a lot to do. Um, had a good chance to like visit everything I wanted to see up there. I got to go up to Acadia during the All-Star break and stuff. But no, I loved it up there, and especially when you had such a good group of guys that we had up there this year, it made it a lot of fun.
Piggybacking on just like the town and everything. Obviously, with it being your first time up there, it was also your first experience to actual Red Sox fans, I believe, because I know Greenville draws good crowds, and that stadium's amazing. It's a good town down there, but you're down in the Carolinas. It's not diehard Red Sox country. Chris, you gotta reel in the notifications there.
That's me. Sorry.
Oh,
Let me try and put my
I
computer
like
on.
I like putting him back in a corner there.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. I did want to ask though. It was your first little taste of Red Sox country with fans going out, and obviously like team, all the fans actually rooting for you guys as like Red Sox players in a sense. So like, how was that for the first time?
Sorry, my dog just started doing something right next to me. No, it was really cool. I mean, they're very proud to be Red Sox fans for sure. I mean, it was like every day we had somebody like waiting, at least 2 or 3 people waiting outside like the gate to get autographs and stuff. Like just diehard Red Sox fans. Even on the road, people would be there waiting for us, and so it was a really cool experience to get to know some fans and get to see how they interact with everyone. So, but it was cool.
So I do want to talk about the season. You obviously started the year very small sample size in Greenville, but I had to kind of like double take when I saw what you did in Greenville. You didn't allow any runs. Like it was only 6 games. Obviously, it's a small sample size, but being able to start a season like that, how important was that for you to be able to get going in that sort of fashion to kick off 2024?
Yeah, it was definitely a big step forward for my career. It gave me a lot of confidence going into the rest of the year, and you just try and ride that high as long as you can. But I was just trusting my stuff when I was in Greenville, and there were some pitch development things that we worked on in spring training that really, I feel like, helped me a lot this year compared to the pitcher I was last year in 23. But those types of things, I mean, you don't want to try and think about like statistics or ERA, anything like that. But when you're on a high, you just kind of try to keep it rolling the best you can.
Yeah, your strikeout totals were pretty, impressive. Games where 3 punch-outs, 2 punch-outs, 3. I had one where it was like 5 and like 2 1/3 or 2/3. you just mentioned though that you worked on some stuff in spring training. Just for people who aren't familiar with you, what did you work on in spring training to kind of get you to the point to lead you into the regular season?
Yeah, so in the beginning of the year, we saw a pretty good tick up in my velocity, which definitely helped with things. And then also in spring training, I started throwing a sweeper. I've always had like a big breaking ball, like a big curve ball. It's more up and down, but we needed something to help me get righties out better because I had like a shorter, harder slider, almost like a cutter that I would use, but we needed something a little bit bigger that moved a little bit more. And so I was going out for, I think it was like my first full game in spring training, and we had like development goals and stuff that we're trying to reach. And they're like, hey, this is one of your goals, and the next goal is you're throwing a sweeper today with this much break on it. And I looked at the coach and I said, I've never thrown a sweeper in my life today, or in my life. And so he just handed me a ball, put a grip in my hand. He was like, anytime you want to throw a curve ball today, just throw this instead. And I was like, all right, we'll see how it went. And then it ended up like being one of my highest graded pitches. So it definitely helped open up my arsenal and really diving into pitching differently side to side rather than kind of just pitching the same way all the way around. Like to lefties, trying going more north south, use my fastball and curveball a little bit more, my changeup, and then to righties, really trying to go east west and trying to get them to swing and miss at that sweeper.
I don't. Are you familiar with the site Sox Prospects?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you I don't know if you've seen your player page or anything, but they have a page with every guy in the system, and and you were kind of talking about some of your like pitch characteristics and things like that. I wanted to ask this question. In one of the paragraphs on your page, it says you're reportedly into pitch science and you look to get the most out of your arsenal. Do you think that is that an accurate does that describe you well? Like what do you think of that?
Yeah, I would say it's more like, I guess, pitch science. I've never heard the term pitch science.
I haven't either.
I would say more like into the analytics of things. Yeah. And like pitch development and just understanding the way my pitches move and how I should throw them and stuff like that. And like what type of break each pitch is going to have, and using that more, and like usage percentage and things like that. But I mean, I'm not the biggest, hardest throwing guy in the world, so I got to be able to use my other things to my advantage.
So you were drafted in 2022, and you've seen a little bit of a change in the guard of the ownership and the baseball ops and all that. You've seen kind of a little bit of change since you've been drafted in the system. And obviously with you being into more of the analytics side and everything, I know that the influx of drive line guys into the system, that's definitely their forte. And that's what they all kind of bring on. And I know even like the bullpen coach in Worcester, Noah Junis, is like really big on that. And he's data driven, everything. So did you have to learn a lot once you, once the guard kind of changed and you saw a lot of the drive line influx, or was that one of the things where like, I'm actually comfortable with some of these things and you kind of took it?
Ever since like my senior year of college, I've had a pretty good understanding of that type of stuff. But it's definitely developed more this past year than in 23. They definitely, I would say, probably like explain it a little bit better this year and like really individualize things to where like exactly what you're trying to do and the reason you're trying to do it, rather than just saying, hey, let's just do this. But there's definitely things that I've noticed that are a lot different this past year than my first full year in pro ball. But they definitely helped me out a ton.
All right. I did want to talk about on the field now in Portland. I asked you, how you like the food and everything earlier. Obviously, it's kind of hard to hate Portland off the field, but your first taste of Double-A. You appeared in 28 games, all out of the bullpen this year. What were some things you noticed about your bump up to Double-A, like whether it be competition or just what did you learn about yourself this year?
Definitely on the competition side of things, the hitters just don't swing as much. You gotta. I remember it was my first outing. I'd gotten called up and we were in Hartford playing on the road. And my first outing, I came into a tough situation, and I got 0-2 on the first guy, I think, and I threw a sweeper that would have gotten a swing and miss 10 times out of like every single time in low A or high A, and then the guy in double A just washed it right in, didn't even bat an eye at it. So you definitely have to get hitters out inside the zone more often. Now, I'm not saying that they won't chase or anything like that, but definitely learning how to use my stuff in the zone rather than trying to get the hitter to expand was one thing I learned. They definitely hit misses a lot better up in double A versus the lower levels. So you can't just throw everything down the middle and hopefully they miss, But no, the competition is definitely better. I definitely learned how to pitch better, I think, this year. I think I just kind of gotten a little bit into like a thrower's mindset at times in the lower levels, and just whatever I felt was working the best that day, we're just going to throw it and hope for the best at times. But this year, even if like you don't have a ton of feel for something at the higher levels, you still need to show it just so that the hitter is still thinking about it in the back of their minds and things like that.
And I know last year when we talked to you a little bit, you had closed some games in Salem in 23. And this year in Greenville, you picked up a save, but obviously weren't really used in those situations in Portland. And I always look back at it too, because I always kind of joke about it. Like me and Ed, when we had you on last year, I always think that it's like, you fit the closer mode so well because of your mindset about things. And it's just the way that you like think about, like when you go into the game, you're just a completely different dude than you are off the field. Like, you're a little more reserved and a little more kept to yourself, but then you're just like kind of in a good way, a psycho on the mound, which is good. You want to get every guy out. Is that something that maybe in year 2, once you, if you do go back to Portland to start the year, in 2025, is that something that, if they presented you the opportunity, you would love to have?
Yeah, of course. I really enjoyed that role in Salem. I would say like just the way that like our development process is kind of going in our organization, like at least this past year, I know Cepeda had a ton of saves for us this year, but like there wasn't ever really like a true closer, so to say, especially in the minors. But I mean, that role is a ton of fun when you're coming into late game situations and you're in the big scenario and you got to get their best guy out for sure.
All right, I got a teammate question here for you. You got to share a pitching staff with a ton of fun guys, a ton of talent. I know throughout the year, you had Blake Wehunt come up at the end. You had Connolly Early come up. You had, CT was in the bullpen throwing. Yeah, you had Alex Hoppy. You had Salucci. You had Kwiatkowski. I mean, the names go on and on. Guys that ended up going up to AAA or guys that got up there for a good performance in Greenville. What was it like, I guess, just seeing some of the talent come up and join you in Portland? And then what was it like, I guess, sharing a bullpen with it and a pitching staff with them all year?
I mean, we had a ton of fun as a staff this year. Everybody really wanted each other to do well. We were we like to joke around a ton, but when it was time to get our work done, we got our work done. And everybody was very supportive of each other. I mean, some of those guys that like came up, like Connolly, when he came up, he was great. He shoved while he was up there for us, and he's a great dude too. And but I mean, there's definitely guys on that staff. I mean, we had Penrod was on the pitching staff for a little bit, and he debuted this year. So it was definitely wild to see some of those things. Then you have guys like Wyatt Olds and Jacob Webb that ended up in AAA, and so. But all those guys, they're great dudes, and we had a lot of fun this year together.
All right, I'm gonna ask about the hitting side here, because first off, were you overwhelmed just sharing a field this year with the amount of like media attention and cameras that came with some of the top prospects that were on your team?
I don't know if overwhelmed is the word. It was more just like, oh, look, there's another camera for Roman or Marcelo or Teal or Christian or whatever. It's just, and it was definitely a ton of media attention this year just because we had some of those pretty high prospects on that team for so long. It was funny, and Netflix came because they're doing that documentary on the Red Sox, and they came to Portland for a weekend and kind of followed some of the top prospects around, and some of the guys got mic'd up and stuff like that. And so that was pretty cool to see, and a little different because I'd never had like an actual camera crew inside the locker room and stuff like that. But no, I wouldn't say overwhelmed. It was just like a different experience. It was a cool experience, but it was a lot of fun. And I mean, those guys are incredibly good at the sport, and so they deserve all the attention they're getting.
Did it give you any? Did it help at all? I mean, and just the mindset when you're on the mound and you knew that you had those guys, like, especially like Roman in center and wherever Christian was, and you had Teal behind the plate some nights, and you had Marcelo at short, and you just have like even Blaze was first, third, wherever he was that night. You had some guys behind you. How much does that help a guy coming in out of the bullpen?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely helps. Obviously on the defensive side of the ball, because they're all pretty good defenders. Teal's very, like, he throws guys out. Like, it's all those guys are good defensively, but I would say it even helps more on the offensive side of the ball just because those guys hit so well. And you know that no lead is ever safe with those guys in the lineup just because of how good of hitters they are. Yeah, it definitely helped.
All right. I do, unless Chris, you had any questions regarding like a season or anything, I'm going to shoot to another topic here.
No, we can jump into the next spot.
All right. I was kind of bouncing all over the place, so I don't want to lose you if you had something. All right. So going into the off season, what kind of things, I'm not sure how the transition goes. Like once, you leave Portland and go home for the off season, because I know there's a lot of guys at the complex. I'm sure it's a little different for them. But for a guy that goes home and you're kind of away from the complex, you're getting married in a few weeks. So I know you got a busy schedule. But what kind of conversations do you have with Brian Abraham and team, and what kind of goals did they give you going into this offseason? Like, was there anything they wanted to see out of you, or wanted you to any like goals they needed you to accomplish?
Yeah, for sure. We have a pitching coach reach out to us, like a trainer, a strength coach. Like they'll all reach out to us pretty like regularly, about once a week, once every other week, just kind of check in, see how we're doing. But yeah, they definitely give us goals and stuff. I got to throw harder. And so one of my goals is gaining some velo. I would say that's like the biggest off-season goal that I have. And then I would say like the secondary goal would probably be we started working on a new changeup towards the end of the year, try and kill some of the vert on it to get it off my heater more. And so I would say once I start throwing bullpens and things like that, getting on the tech like TrackMan or Rapsoda or whatever, and trying out the grip that we're working with and just different cues, trying to get that stuff dialed in before I get to spring training.
So this might be a loaded answer, so feel free to like dummy it down for I guess even for me as well and for people listening. But how does one gain velocity in just in off season? Like how, I guess what kind of things are you doing, and where are you like I guess currently sitting at now, and like where's like a goal that you have in mind that you want to be, a realistic goal?
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to throw hard to throw hard. I know that kind of sounds dumb, but like if you don't try to throw hard, you're never going to throw hard. At least that's the way I believe in it. I like long toss a lot, especially in the off season. I don't do it a ton in season, but in the off season, long toss with pull downs, and then just different drill packages with the plyo balls that we do, like the different weighted balls. Just things that I can work on through my delivery that help hammer down some different movement techniques that or movement patterns that I struggle with at times. And then a realistic velocity goal, I would say, is I came into spring training last year and I was like 92, 94, I was touching 95. And then probably about like a month into the season, I kind of saw that go away. And then my velo ticked back down to what it was last year. And so I think that Like if I can average 93, like that's a good spot for me. I barely throw fastballs anyways, but I know that to be a big leaguer, I'm going to have to throw harder than what I'm at right now. And so I think that if I can just the more I can tick up from what I'm at, I think it'll help me out in the long run.
I know, obviously, like I mentioned, you're getting married in a few weeks, but post wedding, what do you like? What are your plans? When are you supposed to be at the complex? And I guess, how does that look? I guess the remainder of the off season.
Yeah, they haven't sent dates, at least to me. They haven't sent a date of when I'm going to return. It's usually sometime like late February or early March, sometime around then. I doubt that I'd be down there in like in early January like some guys are. But so, yeah, I would think I'd probably be here until late February, early March.
All right, we've reached the portion of the show where I get a little random on you. If that's Chris, I don't know if you have anything before I kind of switch gears here again.
Well, I was actually going to say, you had mentioned a few minutes ago that you got your velo up and then it kind of dipped when you got into the season. What do you think maybe caused that, that little bit of a dip? I know you said too, you don't throw a lot of fastballs, but what causes that? And then how do you go about just kind of getting yourself back on track?
That's a great question. If I knew the answer to that, I would love to tell you. No, I couldn't really ever figure it out this year. It just kind of happened. I didn't really change my process or anything like that. Once I got up to Portland and got about a month in, it just unfortunately kind of happened for me. And so just trying to get back to where I was at going into this past year. And like, you can go look at video and there's some like small little differences that I'm seeing right now that I think that I'm hammering down pretty good this off season, but won't really know until I start getting off the mound and letting it rip some more. So.
All right, I lied. I had one more before before we kind of shoot to the randoms here. Well, it's also pretty random, but I want to know a player's thought that is, especially a guy who is in the minors. And, I was kind of looking, I kind of forgot that you were in the 2022 draft class. I feel like you've been in the system now for like 4 or 5 years, it feels like, but it's only been a little over 2. But I was kind of looking through at your draft class and I saw there was already some guys, traded, like Cutter got traded this past year. And, you had some other teammates in Portland that also got traded. What was that like for you? Was that one of the first times that you, I guess, were sharing a locker room with guys that got traded? And I guess what were your thoughts on it? Like, was it a little weird seeing that?
Yeah, it's definitely weird. It wasn't my first time. Last year in Salem at the trade deadline or around it, Marquise Johnson, the guy in my draft class, we were playing a doubleheader and it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I was on the walkie-talkie in the bullpen that day. And our pitching coach calls down. And he's like, "Hey, tell Marquise to bring his stuff down here. Just come to the dugout." And Marquise was on the chart that day. And so he brought the chart down there because he figured that someone messed up the chart in the dugout. He radios back down. He's like, "No, I told you to bring his stuff, like get his glove, his bands, his water bottle and stuff." So I go bring it to him. And then I'd walk up in the tunnel and give it to him. He's like, "I just got traded to the Giants." I was like, "Whoa, that's the first time I've ever seen that." But yeah, at the trade deadline, we had Paulie get traded I'm trying to think. I don't think there was anybody else in that trade from the Portland team, unless I'm completely blanking on somebody. And if I am, I'm sorry. But yeah, Paulino getting traded, that one was definitely weird because he's such a good guy in the clubhouse. Everybody on the team loved him. But it's part of the game, and it's just something you gotta understand. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, we had a couple guys on from the 23 draft class, and some of them were just like, it was weird, like already seeing it, some of their guys get traded and so early, and they were kind of shocked by it. But like I said, I thought you've been in the system for like 4 years now, man. You could have told me that and I would have believed it. But all right, I'm getting into the random part of the episode. I want to give you a thank you, by the way, for I guess we can call it season 1, the last off season when we had you on. You did give me the right answer. You're Zaxby's guy. I appreciate that. I'm not going to ask that again this time around because we already know it is King. But I do want to know, since you've been home, have you been watching any good shows lately that you would recommend to somebody?
Ooh, that is a good question. I will say I'm rewatching the latest season of Yellowstone right now because Yellowstone is about to come out again. I started watching that The Penguin on HBO as well. I'm only like an episode into it, but it's pretty good so far. And then what's the show my fiance and I are watching? Oh gosh, what is it called? I think it's on the TV right now, but I'm not in there. It's The Newsroom on HBO. That one's pretty good as well. So I would say those are
Okay.
I've been watching most recently.
I'm taking this question's for a friend, not for me at all. But do you get any say in what shows that you watch with the fiance?
Oh yeah. I
Okay.
get some say. I would say I've seen a lot of shows. Like I've watched through Game of Thrones, through Breaking Bad, every show you could think of. I've probably seen it just because we're on a bus so much, and what else am I going to do? And so sometimes we'll watch shows that I've already seen. I'll just rewatch them. But no, I definitely get a say in some of them.
Okay. I surprisingly have not heard of many of those you gave me, which is usually surprising because my wife now, I feel like she watches just about everything. I feel like I get sucked in, like, when she's, your fiance's probably watching something sometimes and you're like, you just got home or something and you're just like kind of getting sucked into it. Like that happens to me every single time. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't get past it. All right. So, Chris, I got a few more, but I've been hogging the mic here.
Yeah, so I want to ask you the same thing that we asked Justin Reimer the other day. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What is the most embarrassing song that you have on your playlist right now?
Oh gosh.
I think that was
look at the
the same reaction he had too when we asked that.
It's probably something that Christopher Troy put on a playlist of mine during the season. For being honest,
that's probably fair.
Or Teal. Teal was always the DJ bass monkey, and so there's probably some EDM song that is on my playlist now because of Teal. I have to go. I'm trying to look at it right now. Yeah, there's an EDM song, like our house music song, that Teal would always play in the playlist or in the locker room, and it's called like Sunshine by Wookie. I couldn't even like really describe it to you. It's like the song, like I'm not going to try and sing it or something. That'd be really bad. But no, it's definitely something that Teal would always play in the locker room, and I just ended up liking it because he'd play it so much.
All right, well, it's a little better than Justin Reamer's song. He gave us an Addison Rae song. So Diet Pepsi by Addison Rae is what Justin gave us.
I didn't even know Addison Rae made music, so I guess.
Yeah, I'm probably on that same boat. All right. I ask a lot of food questions at the end of these things, so I'm gonna go into this again. I asked you earlier about the food scene in Portland. You enjoyed it. I want to know: are you a seafood guy? First of all, okay.
Yeah.
How many lobster rolls did you put down this summer?
They're so expensive, but I mean, like 20 easy, I would say, like probably around 20. I will say, like, Giolito came one time and did some rehab with us because the big league trainer came down, and he said he liked Portland, so he just came with him, and he got us dinner and he got us lobster rolls, and so that was awesome. But it was, I would say, probably around 15 to 20 if I had to guess.
Was that one of your first times? Was that your first time being in Maine, right?
Definitely been in Maine. I'd been in the Northeast before, in like the New England area. I played in the Cape for 2 years, and so I had been up there before, and I'd been to Boston before, but never up to Maine.
Okay. Was just curious. So, My next question here, I've been signed off by many guys in the system. Max Carlson actually gave me the thumbs up of approval that this is a great question, and it shows a lot about somebody whenever you ask it, and I agree with him. So no pressure.
Okay.
You passed the last season with the Zaxby's, so here we go. All right, so you got 3 of your fingers, right? Each finger can dispense a sauce, but you can only have those 3 sauces for the rest of your life. You can't have any other sauce. What 3 sauces are you choosing?
That's funny you did that. We did a very similar bullpen question. It was 5 fingers, but they were all drinks. So like you had to pick your type of drink or whatever.
That's a good one.
But 3, ranch has got to be on there for me. Probably ketchup. And then the third one, it might be Zach sauce, if we're being honest.
Good man.
It's something like a Zach sauce or like a comeback sauce or something like that, like a cane sauce, something around there, I would say.
So you're gonna be surprised by this, but I have not been getting ranch that often. And
Really?
ranch is so versatile that you can use that on just about anything, and people are just straight up ignoring it.
Interesting. I feel like ranch is usually like the number 1 overall pick there.
I agree. And then I don't get ketchup very often. I have not gotten that. I've been getting like Matt Duffy gave me gravy. He also gave me chocolate sauce.
He's Canadian. That makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I didn't put that one together. I mean, if Zach Bryan already knows what he's going to say to me, apparently, and I think he's going to probably choose some healthy stuff. So
yeah, if you look at him one time, you would understand that.
Yeah, so I don't know. That question tells a lot about people. I think I'm more aligned, I think, with yours because your picks are versatile. You can use them on just about anything, and I think it's needed.
So what were your 5 drinks?
I think one of them was just water.
Yeah.
I think now I got to think about it. One of them was a strawberry banana body armor.
Oh, dude.
One of them was Woodford Reserve double oaked. I think one of them was a Coors Banquet. And then the 5th one, what was the 5th one? I think the 5th one was just like whole milk or something like that. I can't remember my 5th one right now.
I'd go water, but I would do the peach though of the body armor.
That's a good choice.
Casamigos, clear though.
Okay.
Ginger ale. So you could have a good ginger ale whenever, you know.
And that's a good idea.
I'm torn though between like High Noon Peach or if I'd want like a vodka, so I can have I like an occasional martini to kind of wind down the week.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm more of a bourbon guy than a tequila or a
all clear liquor for me.
Yeah. Actually, I might take back my whole milk. I think I'd put like ginger ale in there just so I could have some type of mixture if I didn't want to just only have bourbon. So
that's fair. Yeah, that's a good question too. I can't steal that obviously, but I'm going to stick with the sauces, but that is a really good question too. I had no idea you guys actually did that. Nobody told me that. So
there's a lot of time in the bullpen.
I was gonna say it's a long season, Andrew.
Long season. You got to talk about something.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's good. I was gonna ask. I forgot what I was gonna. I mean, I talked to Chase Sugar throughout the year, and he would kind of say what kind of stuff they talk about, in Worcester, and then compare to like what they talked about in Boston, like in the bullpen, and like the topics go from like, I mean, literally the 5 drinks you would put on your fingers to like space. Like I don't know. It seems like you guys are all over
everything.
All right, Chris, I got one question left to wrap up. Do you got anything else?
Well, you answered the TV shows. I mean, I would say do you have a when it comes to like TV shows, do you have like your own where I call it trash TV? It may not be trash, but it's stuff that's kind of like when people go and be like, hey, what is something embarrassing to watch? Like I'll go say I have no issue. I can watch like a full season of Love Is Blind, and I have no shame to say that. But like, so I categorize that as like my trash TV. Do you have something like that where you just something to kind of unwind, something that's just like don't really give a shit about watching, and it's just
I wouldn't say I have a show like Love Is Blind. I will say in college, me and a few of my teammates, we would watch The Bachelor every week. For some reason, or The Bachelorette, one of the two. I can't remember which one it was, but I haven't seen that show since I left college. But me and my fiance at one point watched Madam Secretary. I don't know if you ever heard of that show.
Yep.
And so, like, if we're like just doing something, but we want background noise, like that would be the show we would put on in the background. But I wouldn't say I have like an interesting show that like that, Love Is Blind or something.
Yeah, there's a bunch of just random stuff on Netflix that you can just sit and watch. It's background too, but
yeah.
I feel like every guy we've had on this offseason has said that they've been into one of two things or both. It's golf and playing Call of Duty because the new one just came out. Are you into either of those? Like, what do you do like on your off days or in your free time?
I would say golf more than video games for me. I guess in season it was probably more video games because you could just wake up in the morning and you didn't have to do anything until 1. And so in season I played a lot of NCAA when it came out, the new football game. I actually have not gotten the new Call of Duty game yet. I've been a little busy getting ready for the wedding, and so a lot of my free time right now is fixing up the house that we're in and getting the yard looking like I want it to. So actual like grown up things. It's weird. But no, in all my free time I would say I like playing golf more than video games.
All right. I lied to you too. I still got more questions. I'm just gonna keep going. A big topic of discussion on this pod this offseason has been a lot of guys, they're talking about their roommates, because I feel like a good roommate can definitely like make your season a lot more enjoyable. And I'm sure you didn't have any bad roommates at any of your stops, but who did you room with in Portland? And I guess what were the vibes like?
I was with Alex Hoppy, and so we were same draft class. And so when I got up there, he had an open room, and so I just moved in with him. Vibes were good. I mean, he's probably the easiest going person I've ever met in my life. He's the quiet Alex Hoppy that you probably see when you go watch him. Like, he's the same person off the field. And so he's definitely a fun guy to room with. He's never going to cause any problems, and we'll just hang out and do whatever. But no, he was awesome to live with this year.
All right, final question before we let you go here. We are 2 months away from 2025. It's coming up quick. It'll be here before you know it, and you'll report right after that. I asked you this question last year, and I asked a lot of guys this last year. But I don't want to ask, like, what are your goals for 25? But where I like to live by a phrase that I like to speak things into existence, if I want to accomplish something, I'm going to keep saying it until I eventually like try to accomplish it. So what would be that for you? Like, what do you want to speak into existence, I guess, for your 2025 season?
I would say definitely improving from what I did in Portland this next year. If that's where I'm going back to, I would hope that's where I'm going back to. I feel like I could have performed better than I did, and I want to prove that I can pitch at the highest level, and definitely have a goal to end up at least in Worcester. And obviously, like, I want to debut. Like, everybody wants to debut. I'm not just gonna say I want to be a big leaguer in 25, because everybody wants to be a big leaguer. But I think just making my way up the system and proving that I'm a valuable asset that could be in the big leagues one day.
No, that's a great answer. We'll definitely get you some help on pronouncing Worcester, because I know that they take that a little serious out there, but it is quite funny hearing guys come up and try to say it. But Jonathan, we appreciate all the time today. You gave us a ton of time, man. Always appreciate the time. It was good seeing you throughout the season. I think I saw you a few times in New Hampshire and I think down in Harrisburg. So it was always a pleasure, but thank you so much for hopping on, and we'll definitely be looking out for you once spring training rolls around.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.